All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be looking at one specific regiment in the Civil War, and their significance is pretty big. All right, so we're going to look at them and see what they did and what happened to them, okay? So here is your warm-up picture. All right, the first question asks you, what do you notice about the two groups? Okay, you got the group up above and the group below. What do you notice the difference between them? Okay, that's the first question. The second question says, after analyzing this picture, front to back and left to right and all that stuff, who do you think is going to win this battle and why? Why do you believe that group is going to win? Okay, so justify your answers. Don't just put, oh, they look like it. What does that mean? Okay, I'm saying that because I got some responses like that. They look like they're gonna win. Well, do they have is it the way they're positioned? Is it the way they look? I mean, what? So write down in detail. What do you mean? Why do you think that group is going to win? Okay, explain. Okay, so pause the video, write your responses because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's the thing. January 1st, 1863, Abraham Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation. It takes effect on that day. Now, here's the big misconception about it. The big misconception is, oh, it frees all the slaves. That's it. Slavery's done with. No, it doesn't. All right. You're going to get another document paper to do with this assignment, in which you guys are going to break down the Emancipation Proclamation. You're not going to get the actual document. What I've done is I've read it and I put it in more simpler terms, and you guys are just basically summarizing what each paragraph means. Okay, so hopefully, if you're watching this video in class, if I didn't give you those papers, let me know. Hey, Martinez, I need those papers, the Emancipation Proclamation papers, so I can give it to you. If you already got it, awesome. Just follow the instructions, and there you go. Okay. Now, what it did do is it did free slaves who were in states that were rebelling, or parts of states that were rebelling against the United States. So he said those places, yeah, you guys are free. But it's a wartime measure, which means that it's only effective while the war is going on. And Lincoln wants to win this war because he wants to end slavery. So he basically looks and going, we need some soldiers. And these former slaves, they'd be great soldiers. So he says, are we going to take all of them in? Maybe not all of them, because you have to remember, they need them in suitable conditions, which means that they are actually able to fight. Because you have to remember, a lot of slaves were treated horribly. I mean, horribly. Some were almost to the point of starvation. Some who ran away, they were, had their ankles messed up, so they couldn't really walk that well, but they could still carry things. They couldn't walk well. Some of them, they whipped them like crazy. So there's a famous picture of a former slave who shows his back, and when the skin gets cut, the skin grows back. Scar tissue. It builds up if it keeps getting opened up again and again and again. And that's what happened. Is this guy basically had like a texture on his back, and it was all the scar tissue from on the whips, and it was really bad. But the thing is, Lincoln wants to end slavery. That's his original goal. All right. Well, he wanted to bring the Union together, keep it together, but once the South said, no, we're never going back, he was like, well, then, you know what? I've always wanted to get rid of slavery, so there we go. That's what we're fighting for. February 1863, Massachusetts Governor John A. Andrews is the first person to say, you know what? Our state, we are asking for black soldiers. So if you want to sign up, sign up. Here's the problem with that. There wasn't many black people in Massachusetts at that time. There really wasn't. There was a handful here or there, things like that, a little sprinkle over there. But that's about it. There wasn't much people. But word spread that in Massachusetts, they're asking for black men to sign up to be soldiers. And within 2 weeks, 1,000 men volunteered. Now, they came from everywhere in our country: New York, Indiana, Ohio, and even Canada. These are guys who escaped slavery. They escaped slavery, made it to Canada. They could have easily lived the rest of their life in peace because they've earned it, but they didn't. They came back to the United States, signed up to fight against slavery. That, you guys, that's wow. I mean, that's courage. You know, they could easily have lived the rest of their lives in Canada, but they didn't. They came back to fight. That tells you something. That's character right there. About a quarter of them, so 250 to 300 of them, were from slave states. Okay, and also what made this group unique was that not only were there like brothers signing up together, cousins, but fathers and sons. These guys actually, hey, come on, son, we're gonna fight. Awesome, I'm with you. Okay, even Frederick Douglass, he signed up his own sons, and his sons were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go, Dad. We're going to fight." And he's like, "Awesome." He already signed them up, you know. So yeah. So this group became known as the 54th Massachusetts. Okay, that paper you see right there, right above me, that is the original flyer. Okay, and as you can see, it says asking for people who are African descent. Um, they're going to get paid $13 a month. They're going to get food, clothing, and the state's going to help, their families out. Because a lot of these guys, they were the breadwinners. They were the ones working for the family. Now, it's one thing to have the group, but it's another thing to have the leader. And they need to pick someone who is going to be the right person for the job. They need someone who actually believes that these black men could be not only good soldiers, but great soldiers. So they're looking around, they're trying to find people. And Governor Andrew knows a family, the Shaws. These guys are straight to the heart abolitionists. They believe in their heart and soul that everyone deserves to be free. They see slavery as an abomination to the natural order in life. Everyone should be free. No one should be bound and things like that. So they're like, what? We have a son in the army. His name is Robert Gould Shaw. Yeah, he's 25 years old, but he's already ranked up a little bit. And he survived the Battle of Antietam. So if you remember from last week, Antietam is the bloodiest battle, a one-day battle in U.S. history. Okay, so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll take the job, because again, he truly believes that these guys could be amazing soldiers. So word spreads that, hey, there's a group now. It's legitimate. These guys signed up. They're being trained, and the South gets a hold of this, and they make a proclamation. They basically let everyone know any black soldier caught will be sold into slavery. Any white officer caught will be executed. Okay. Now here's the thing that's interesting. At this point, well, I should say before this point, the South and the North would trade soldiers. Okay. So for like a general, they would trade 100 regular soldiers. For like a captain, maybe 10, 20, they would negotiate. But they would trade soldiers. Okay. But when it came to the black soldiers, the South said, well, we're not trading them. We're going to sell them into slavery. The North was like, well, if you do that, we're not going to trade you any of your soldiers. And the South said, well, fine, we're not going to trade you any of your soldiers. So the exchange of soldiers stopped completely. And me personally, I think this is the one thing that really hurts the South, is when they did this. Now, they're doing the training. The soldiers are going really well. They seem to be picking things up really, really well. And then all of a sudden, the first payment comes in. right? They finish their first month. They're going to get paid their $13. They look at their checks and it's only $10. And on top of that, they take away a couple dollars for their uniforms. And they're like, this is not right. This is not right. We were promised $13. Why are we getting less? A lot less. And then the white officers were looking at their checks and they're like, well, we're getting paid the exact same. So the black soldier said, well, we're not taking our money. Because if we take this money, if it's $8 or whatever, if we take this money, we're basically saying it's okay to pay us this little. But we're not. It's not okay. So we're not taking it. The white officers basically agreed. They said, yeah. So if the black soldiers aren't taking their money, we're not taking the money. Not until all of us are paid what we're promised. Okay? So that shows the unity of that group, of the 54th Regiment. So May 28th, 1863, the training happens. They finish it up. They're ready to go. They're marching beautifully. The whole regiment consists of 1,007 black soldiers, 37 white officers, and these guys head to the south. Now, the thing is, you have to remember, these guys are anxious. They're ready to show, hey, what we can do. Remember, they are the first all-black regiment to go and fight for the United States. So they're ready. Let's go to the south. Let's show them what we can do. They're given orders like to go to some little rink-and-dink little town and basically set it on fire. Take what we need, things like that. Check if there's any soldiers. No? Okay, fine, then burn it. Go to this other place. Check it out. Again, clear out the place. Make sure there's no soldiers. And a lot of places, there's just women, children, old men, old women. There's no military strategy to these places. They're not like on top of a hill where you can see above and you can see the landscape. These are just in the middle of nowhere type of places. They would have them cut down trees and make roads, for the soldiers to go through. And they're like, we should be marching through this, not we shouldn't be creating these roads. What the heck? So they really are frustrated, and Shaw is very upset. Like, these guys are meant to fight. Why are we doing these jobs? We should be fighting. So here's your first question. Why do you think the 54th Massachusetts was made to destroy defenseless and non-essential military towns? Why do you think they had them do that? What are some possible reasons you can think of why they would have these guys go to these little rinky-dink towns and loot them, burn them, check to see if there's any soldiers, and, why? Okay, so stop the video, think about your response, write it down, okay, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so Shaw basically does get his way. The 54th is allowed to fight. Now, they do fight, they do win, but it's not that many battles. I think it's like 1 or 2 battles they actually get to fight in. They do win. They do have some casualties, some wounded, some dead, but not too much, okay? Now, July 18th, 1863, the Fort Wagner, which was seen as an impregnable fort, was like almost impossible to attack. The Union needed people to do this, basically a full-on blitz into that fort. They needed one group to come in and just like a blitz, bust through. Obviously, that first group was going to get shot at, with guns and cannonballs and things like that. The hope was that they would go to the gates, at least get there and try to bust through. And then another group, once those first group busts through, then the second group comes in and just basically like takes over and, finishes it off. But they need someone to take that initial hit and take it. All the other generals and commanders and captains, colonels, all these guys are just like, oh, not our group, not our group. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Shaw says, my men will do this because I believe in them. These guys can do it. These guys are awesome. So they volunteer. At dusk, which is when the sun goes down, they start marching towards Fort Wagner. Cannonballs are flying, bullets are being shot at. They take cover and they wait till night to attack. So night comes. Now, you have to remember, this is a fort. This is in on the beach in the fort. So if you've ever walked through sand, you know it's pretty tough. Imagine trying to climb a hill, and that's what happens. They're at these dunes, which goes down and up, down and up. If you've never been to the dunes, it's hard to climb up sand. It's very difficult. Okay, and that's what happens. There's the fence up here, and then there, go like this. The fence is right here, and then there's like sand going down, and then there's like a moat, where water is and things like that. So there's a big dip area, and that's perfect for the Confederate soldiers to be shooting at them. So they run. They're going up. They're done the dunes. They get to the wall. They're trying to get in, and what ends up happening is um, the Confederates are shooting at them with the cannon, things like that. Shaw starts charging up the sand, and he gets shot, bah, 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 right in the chest. He dies instantly. Shaw dies instantly, falls to the ground, dead. His men then just like lose it because again, they love this man. This guy believed in them when nobody else really did, and he showed them he had faith in them. So they just just had that in them, and they charged up the sand. Again, it's difficult, but they did it. Shot at, cannonballs busting everywhere. They're charging up, all of them coming up. They go over the wall, and then they start shooting, stabbing, choking, beating, everything to this Confederate soldiers. So they make it through the wall, and then they keep going, trying to make that push, make that punch in. They then run into 1,700 Confederate soldiers, and a lot of them are killed. The second group does come in, but they are immediately met up with those 1,700 soldiers, and some of them do die, and they do fall back. 281 of those soldiers from the 54th Massachusetts are killed, wounded, or captured. Again, Shaw is dead, takes a bullet, 3 shots to the chest. The dead bodies of the 54th are then dug or buried in a mass grave in the sand. Shaw has his body dumped in there too. The South then sends a cable to the North telling them, we buried Shaw with his, and they used the N-word. Now you have to remember, back then, the Southern people saw that to be a white man being buried with a black man. They saw that as an insult. So when word came to Shaw's family that these guys said that, that's where he's buried and that's what they said, Shaw's family responded, thank you. Thank you. There's no holier place to be buried than surrounded by these brave and devoted soldiers. The family was happy. You buried our son with these brave and honorable men. What more could we ask for? The South is like, wait, no, that's an insult. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's what he would have wanted. So, yeah, that's what happened. So, Colonel Shaw is buried with his soldiers at Fort Wagner. So that picture right there, that is Colonel Shaw. That's him, how he looked like. This other picture is a memorial dedicated to the 54th Massachusetts. It's a beautiful, if you ever get to see it. I only got to see it on like a recording, but I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And one day I would like to go see it personally, but yeah, there are dedications to them and acknowledgments of who these guys were and what happened to them. All right, so here's your next question. Do you think the 54th should be regarded as heroes? Now, granted, they only had like 3 battles, and the last one they had, they lost like over half their men. So should they be regarded as heroes? Why or why not? What do you think? Okay. Would they fall under the category of heroes in your book? Okay. So think about it, write your response, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's your exit ticket. Remember, you're only going to pick one of these questions. The first one says, why do you think the 54th Massachusetts isn't mentioned more when talking about the Civil War? You know, what are some possible reasons? So, I mean, you talk about Civil War, you hear about Lincoln, Grant, Lee, Vicksburg, Gettysburg. You don't really hear about much of the 54th, unless you watch that particular movie about them. But other than that, they're not really mentioned up there. Why not? What do you think? The other question is, if the 54th hadn't done what they'd done, do you think people would have viewed them as a failed experiment? Because remember, the battles they did fight in, they weren't big ones. They weren't like Gettysburg or Vicksburg. They were tiny ones, medium-sized one. They weren't big ones. So do you think they would be viewed as, hey, these guys are the great soldiers? Well, they only fought in tiny battles, not big ones. So what do you think? Okay. Once you are finished, that's it. You're done for this lesson. All right. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something new. I really do. Um, Again, I know I didn't give this group justice because there's so much about them, and our class is very limited. But I could spend like a week on these guys. It's what they did was remarkable in my personal opinion. So, you know, I really do hope you did learn something new. Okay. So you guys take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later, all right?